as we are entering I guess we're almost turning for home in the group stage of the European Football Championship. Copa America started last night. I thought, since I'm geeked off about it, why not focus on that in this week's edition of the Roundtable?
Camelot. It's only a model.
And I'm wearing my Wrexham shirt that I got at the soccer tournament a year ago. Joining us on the Roundtable, the voice of Charlotte FC, Will Palaszczuk. You can follow him on Twitter at WilliePStyle. And the one and only, the legend of Wake Forest and North Carolina FC legend as well, Austin Deleuze at Austin Deleuze. I am excited to have both of you guys here, so thank you very much for doing this. So before we get into it, I know Austin is back with the club, although not in a playing capacity. Team did very well at TST without you, Austin.
They did. Some might even say I was the issue last year. I wouldn't say that, but people have said it, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a great tournament, great run for both the NTFC team and the Courage team. It was a ton of fun. Courage ended up getting to the championship game, lost to U.S. Women. We talked to Jessica McDonald beforehand. A tremendous run. There are matches, by the way, tomorrow for the men, and then Sunday for the women. Courage also have a home. Did they repair is the field brand new? Is the field a shambles? What is it? The field is good to go. They actually resodded it right after TST. So per usual, the town of Cary has it looking immaculate for the weekend. Yeah, we're 7:30 tomorrow night for NTFC, 6 p.m. for Courage on Sunday. Both of the games are our pride matches. So come on out, support the clubs.
All right, now let me go to my man, Will Palaszczuk. I appreciate your time, Will. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start with you, and we're going to start with Copa America. Quick, your thoughts. Did we see the champion last night?
I don't know if we did, because I think we saw Canada really kind of take it to them. I know that, the 2-0 victory is that really, if you look at them and you say, okay, if you just look at the scoreline, you don't see anything, you think Argentina got a tidy victory. But I think we saw some holes in Argentina if a team with a little bit more strength can come up against them. I don't know if that's going to happen in the group stage with Argentina. I think Argentina is going to kind of cruise into the knockout stage. But this is a pretty hefty tournament. I mean, you've got a bunch of teams like Uruguay, Brazil, and the guy that's my favorite, Colombia, that can really stand to reason and maybe take down Argentina. There is, at least in some ways, I think a harder road for Argentina to win this tournament with the guys all 2 years older than there might have been to win the World Cup, just because there is that familiarity, and as we always know, that familiarity breeds contempt.
The only thing I would say to that is that maybe the three biggest obstacles, right, aren't they all on the other side? And Colombia and Brazil are in the same group, and Uruguay is over with the United States in Group C. I don't know how much of the match you saw last night, Austin, but Canada might have. I don't know if they were the better side in the first half, but Canada had the better scoring opportunities in the first half. But I thought the second half was the opposite of the first half, I thought.
Yeah, I did. I caught the whole game, and I disagree with Will a little bit. I thought it was pretty decisive, victory for Argentina. Canada did create a few chances to their credit, but I think ultimately Argentina looked pretty comfortable, especially as the game went on, to your point, in the second half. And I think, Messi, again, he's the X factor, right? He still showed his quality. He set up both goals. He's playing a different sport still at the age of almost 37 now, I think. And so I think Argentina is going to be certainly there or thereabouts when we get to that, Final Four or championship game.
Yeah, first of all, I don't know how Messi didn't score twice, and I think he probably feels the same about it. But yeah, I thought once they got the first one, which was probably just a complete mess. Well, not probably. It seemed like a complete mess by Canada. Once they got the first one, I loved Canada's first half. But the second half, then Argentina just put their foot on them. Let me get to, and I'll go back to Austin with this. U.S. men's national team got completely dominated by Colombia in one friendly leading up, and then drew with Brazil in the second one. Do you draw anything from either of those matches?
I do. I think I draw from both of them together, and I think this is kind of the anti-hot take, but it's probably about where we're at. Is on any given day, if we don't play well, we are going to get stomped by one of the best teams in the world. And on any given day when we do play well, we can compete with the best teams in the world. I think that's kind of where we're at right now as a program. I know that's probably not what people want to hear. I think people have the expectation now that we have players playing in the top leagues and at top teams. People expect us to go win every game, but the reality is we're just not there yet. And I think the difference is that, the players that we have playing in top leagues and top teams are not the guys that are relied upon by those teams week in, week out. These are not first name on the team sheet players for these clubs. And I think that's where we differ with a lot of the top teams in the world. You look at Brazil's depth, we're really not in the same conversation, right? And so I think that's what I took away from those two games. I hope that we can put together a little run here in the Copa. I think the game against Uruguay will be particularly interesting, but yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at.
That's Austin Deleuze from NCFC. Will Palaszczuk is the voice of Charlotte FC. To kind of just throw this in front of you, I want your take on what we saw from the first two games. I think the Americans probably have more first team, team sheet players maybe than Colombia, or it's pretty close anyway. But that game was an absolute massacre. But what was your read from the two friendlies they played leading up?
Again, I think Austin hit it right on the head in the fact that, we are getting better, but we're not at the level that, a top tier to win a type of tournament like this. And I think we're used to, as the United States, kind of judging ourselves with CONCACAF and judging ourselves against Mexico and some of the other powers in North and Central America. South America is a different beast, and you have powers and guys who are playing in top leagues in Europe and even the top leagues in South America. And, Argentina's got a great couple of leagues as well. And obviously there's a lot of great players who are playing across the world. And Colombia's got a bunch of them. I mean, they got James Rodriguez. They've got John Duran, who's playing in the EPL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've got a bunch of guys who are on that particular trajectory. And the other thing, too, is that they're young and ascending. And, even a lot of our players, although we do have some young and ascending, we also have some guys also at the other end of the spectrum. I mean, Tim Ream is going to be 37 this year. So that's the part of it that I feel like there's almost kind of a bit of two-mind scenario right now with the United States. And that's why I think there's a lot of frustration with Greg Berhalter, because there have been times in his tenure as the U.S. men's national team coach where he has almost kind of declined to embrace the future and maybe hold on to some guys a little bit too long. And that's honestly also been a characteristic of previous men's national team coaches because of that experience sometimes being or outweighing potential otherworldly skill by some of the younger players. So I'm interested to see how once these games actually start counting for something with points in this tournament, this will be a good experience for the United States, because I think we always kind of looked at this as maybe our best kind of tune-up to see what we need 2 years from now when we host the World Cup in 26.
I mean, we talk all the time, and I'll stay with you on this, Willie. I mean, you mentioned Greg Berhalter. I mean, this tournament's going to be a referendum on whether or not Greg Berhalter was the right guy. So if the United States, and we can even bring it up here, if the U.S. doesn't do what? This was a failure to retain Greg Berhalter.
I think they need to make it out of the group stage for him to be retained. I understand that.
Is that even enough?
Oh, I think that's the baseline. I think. I think he could be not retained if they make it out of the group stage and he doesn't win a knockout game. But if they are unable to get past Bolivia and win the second game and then at least get something against Uruguay, I don't think he comes out and is the manager for 2026. I think maybe there's a particular scenario that if they get out of there in the knockout stage, they'll end up facing Colombia, which might be particularly difficult. And I think that, again, you saw the 5-1 result back in the first part of the friendly stage. So I think that's kind of why I maybe, keeping my expectations a bit muted with that. If they somehow can turn the tables against Colombia, then I think he's absolutely safe. But I also feel like you have to kind of take that in the context of where it is. There's a reason why, kind of those 4 teams, Brazil, Uruguay, Colombia, and Argentina are kind of on a pedestal above the rest. And that's kind of why I look at it and say, if it happens to go that the United States wins and gets out of the group stage and has to place that team that's just a matchup nightmare for them, then I feel like they've at least done a job. I wouldn't say they've done a fine job, but I also have to remember the context of what this is put under. Greg Berhalter, for whatever reason, has got, he's got something on the USSF. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's pictures. I don't know if it's compromising information. But whatever it is, he's got enough clout in that room and the people who are the stakeholders to keep that job. And unless it's something that's completely embarrassing, I think he's going to be the manager for the United States for the World Cup.
Oh, man, he's got but family. It might just be a family thing. Austin, what's a successful Copa America for the U.S. national team?
From my perspective, personally, I think successful is winning a knockout stage game. I think in the eyes of the Federation, to Will's point, I think if he gets out of the group, he's safe. I think that the Federation is historically pretty conservative when it comes to the hiring and firing of coaches, and especially with Greg, who I think they really put all their eggs in the Greg basket when they brought him back after all the scandal and all the controversy. They still brought him back, and I don't think that they want to. I don't think they want to have egg on their face and have to walk that decision back. So I think if he gets out of the group, he's safe. Even if they don't get out of the group, I could see them keeping him. But I really do. I think it is an inflection point. We're at the point now where if you're going to make a move, you got to do it now because you want to give, a coach time to come in and integrate himself with the team prior to the 26 World Cup. And if you wait any longer, any incoming coach is not going to have that time. So it'll be very, very interesting. I think, like I said, the Federation historically does not act rashly in situations like this. So I expect him to be the coach similar to Will in 2026, barring a total catastrophe here in this Copa.
All right, so I agree. I think it's a failure if they don't get out of the group, an absolute abject failure. But I don't think it's a successful, even though there is gap. I don't think it's a successful Copa America unless they win a knockout stage game. They just have to figure out a way forward, and maybe that takes a change in mindset from Berhalter to have a team set up to be more. Have more of an attacking mindset. That's going to be more difficult without Sergiño Dest because they don't really have a good replacement for anybody. For for Dest, really on the roster over at right back. All right, I guess it's going to have to wrap it up here, but let me start with Austin. Gareth Southgate and England. I saw the draw with Denmark coming from miles away. I didn't understand why they put the same starting 11 out that looked very lackluster in their first match. They ran the same group out. They looked about the same. Almost like he tried to win the match 1-0. Like they have too much talent to be this mediocre. Is this a Southgate issue? What is his problem?
Yeah, I think ultimately it is, right? I think he's the manager. He's responsible for the performance of the team, and I think it's they look like the pressure is affecting them. The way that they're playing, they look like they're very they've come into it with nerves. They look like they're playing it safe. And so I think ultimately that it's the responsibility of the manager to put his team at ease. We talked a little bit yesterday about the post-match interview with Kyle Walker, where he specifically said that Gareth Southgate has instructed them to play free-flowing, attacking football, and so there's obviously a disconnect there because that's not happening.
No.
So he has to find a way to get them to do that because it does play to their strengths, right? With the players and the talent that they have, they're more than capable of playing, that type of exciting, attacking, soccer or scoring goals. But that's not happening, and so ultimately that's the manager's responsibility to address. And at this point, I don't know. You can fire him mid-tournament, maybe. It's been done.
It worked for Ivory Coast, didn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say it worked in the AFCON, but I don't know. It's you can certainly see the pressure is getting to them. The English media is absolutely ruthless. If you think there's pressure on Berhalter,
oh my gosh,
it's a totally different stratosphere of criticism. So I would love to see them continue to progress because I love their roster, I love their players. I'd like to see Cole Palmer get involved.
Yes,
I think he could make a difference, but it's tough times over there right now for sure in the England camp.
What are your thoughts on England, Willie? And then I need a prediction. Who's going to win it?
I just feel like, again, that there's some sort of disconnect because this is almost kind of the way I feel like if you were to take an all-star team, I think sometimes we get the sense that if you put all the best players together, they're just supposed to play collectively, and I think it is a fault of the manager that for whatever reason there's not a cohesive unit. I don't think you can look at any of the other teams pound for pound aside from maybe France. Germany's got a lot of strength too, but I still think pound for pound, England are the most talented team. And I even said to somebody, if they were wearing any other coat of arms and they had any other coach, I'd pick them to be the favorite to win this tournament. But because it's England and because it's Gareth Southgate and all that history and the negativity and the fact that for whatever reason they just seem to kind of go down their leg every time they're in a major tournament, I have no heart enough to pick them. So because of that, it just kind of always seems like they're snake bit. And if you ask my partner Jessica Charman, she'll say more words about it and
yes.
more naughty because of the fact that she's frustrated. Her dad is on Twitter. He's an amazing follow on Twitter, Andy RFC Charman. When you watch these England games, let's just say the English, like Austin said, they are ruthless when it comes to the criticism against their team, and I would say with the way they've played in this tournament, rightfully so.
Who's winning it? Who's winning the Euros?
France.
France. Kylian Mbappe was not allowed to wear his France mask. He's got to wear just a plain black mask tonight. Austin, who's winning the Euros?
I'm going to go Spain. I love what I've seen from Spain so far.
They were great yesterday.
They've really found a balance between sort of their traditional tiki-taka football and some real pace on the wings and skill. And so I like Spain. I hope they can.
That Nico Williams is in like Italian nightmares, man. He is so good.
He created the own goal last night. That was a tremendous play. I've got Portugal. I don't know why. I hope they can kind of lessen Ronaldo, at least in group stages, because he's going to wear out. But they've certainly got a lot of answers to all the questions. So I'm going a little bit off the board for Portugal. Will Palaszczuk at Willie P. Style, the voice of Charlotte FC, Austin Deleuze at Austin Deleuze from North Carolina FC. I appreciate both of you helping me geek out about two incredible soccer tournaments that I am riveted by. So thanks again for doing this, both of you guys.
Pleasure's mine, Adam. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you very much to both. All right, I'm not quite sated, but it certainly did help.